6. Now, is that important at a racetrack like Chicagoland? Here's an amazing statistic. No one has ever won from the front row at Chicagoland.
Somebody sooner or later will.
Yeah, they will. This is the only active track where that's never happened.
Well, and by the big scheme of things, it's a very young track too. That had a lot of racing going on here, but it is somewhat of a surprise. But I think we've had a lot of bizarre finishes, a lot of fuel, mileage races, so I think one of these days, and today could wind up being the day that doesn't come into play, and we'll get our first possible pole winner.
Goes on victory lane.
Yep. Casey Kane has got his hands full with his 30 car too. He's bouncing in sideways, and pretty good in 1 and 2, but turns 3 and 4 was really the nemesis for Casey Kane in his qualifying lap. A lot of movement with that race car.
But Herbie, a lot of these guys are guilty of doing one thing.
See you later. Went on a little vacation. What did that do for your head coming back here to Nashville?
It just cleared it out. I'm just starting this weekend new. Just don't even think about what happened in the beginning of the season. Just got away, cleared my head, and ready to go. Starting the season today.
All right, he's a happy guy. These young guys, there's a lot of pressure on him, Vince.
Well, that's for sure, and it's been a very difficult go for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and not only the 6, but the 16 in that Roush Fenway stable as well. As you see Morgan Shepherd on track now. You go from the young guy, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., to the, just call him the veteran, Morgan Shepherd.
That's nice. 22nd, though, on that first lap. He's quicker than Kevin LePage by a good 3/10. So this might be a pretty good lap to really sit on and not worry about making the field.
And talk about those guys.
31-10 should be good. Take care of your stuff.
At Roush Racing, these young guys trying to make it work. And when you see people like Carl Edwards, we talked about his struggles of, not winning and how that's fallen off. It makes their job even more difficult coming in because obviously the program's down just a little bit for some reason right now. And so you're there at a time you think you're in a great position.
Out on the racetrack, Joey Logano. Amazingly enough, he is one of the drivers that has to qualify on time to get into this race.
J.J. Yaley right now is the next car that will be bumped out of the field. You see where the tracker is for Joey Logano.
Logano goes to the top of the charts. That knocks J.J. Yaley out. 15.997. Someone has gone under 16 seconds.
Didn't somebody tell us that wasn't going to happen today?
Yes. Somebody that's in our booth here?
Yeah.
Russell?
Oh, I was going to say, you guys are both looking toward me. I didn't say that.
He's sitting behind you.
Okay.
Your direction to do that. He said no, it wasn't going to happen, but it did.
For his qualifying run down to the apron across the stripe for lap number 1, 5th quick for Stenhouse Jr. at 30.981.
It's really close. Carl Edwards, his teammate, ran a 30.90, so right in that same ballpark as his teammate on lap 1, and looks like he's tracking to maybe not quite run as fast on lap number 2. And as Jeff, you mentioned at the top of the show, qualifying for these championship contenders can be important for more reason than one.
Hey, pit selection is one thing, but again, I just think it's so much right now about the mental deal. This young man here has never been in a situation like he's in right now. A lot of pressure, driving for a huge organization like Roush Fenway. His first opportunity, everything about his career right now has been in the last 2 years.
They're with the Charlotte, and I'm very comfortable in it, and we had a good practice yesterday, so we got to go after them tonight.
All right, 4 wins so far this year for Elliott, and I want to check in with his brother.
Well, I wanted to get Kenny Wallace while you were P1, but you're P2 right now. A solid lap for this team. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be running a limited schedule. Robbie Bent in the corner. Scott Zipadelli and all his crew working hard, 8 different drivers.
But tell everybody what you really owe this good lap to.
Well, let me just tell you, I owe it to you because we did a show about 3 weeks ago and we were racing real-size motorhomes. You destroyed your motorhome. It's going to be on the History Channel next year, but you got me. I said, if Hermie's going to take off in his motorhome and destroy, then I've got to catch you.
We talked about him being really good on these road courses. His technique is outstanding. Doesn't seem to get himself in trouble a lot. You can see right there, that was a spot apparently that Cole Custer just nailed because Tip was up 2.5 tenths on him. And that gap really closed up. He lost about 1.5 tenths. Let's see what he can do in this last corner.
Needs to hold here or do better. Here's the end of Davison's lap.
Close.
Good enough for second. Up the hill comes Tift. Still in the green. And he's got it. Matt Tift to the top of the board.
Wow.
It'd be a good time to go out right now with this cloud cover.
Sure would, yeah. Yeah, that grip is speed here. Boy, there's nothing better as a driver just to get that little bit of extra where you can let the car roll and jump back in the throttle hard.
Danica Patrick ran the 9th fastest lap in practice earlier today.
She's on the Brad Keselowski plan so far on this one, though. She can pick it up.
Needing the second one to be a lot better.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the experience that you have to have at certain tracks to understand that second lap, as the air pressure builds up and everything, you can get that much more out of the car.
Nice rebound on that second lap for Danica, up to 8th quickest.
That leaves us 8 drivers to go.
Tears, man. He was nervous. Thought he had to pole. His teammate got him.
All right, here's one of those cars that can come after him, Kyle Busch. And Kyle was second quickest in that final practice last night. And he and Ricky Stenhouse were the only two that really taped up. And he's tracking south.
A lot of people thought this is in fact, Kyle told us yesterday, this is the best this car has been at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He feels like he's got a car that's good enough to win the race. He's that confident in this number 54 monster car.
Comes across the line, 5th quickest on lap number 1, 29.51.
Good lap. I don't know if it may be difficult to improve upon it, but this young man obviously is a tremendously talented race car driver, very experienced. He's like an onboard computer. See if he can figure out another way around this racetrack.
6 wins in the Nationwide Series for Kyle, tied with Mark Martin for the most at this track. He also has 4 truck wins here at Charlotte.
Very consistent laps, both of them.
Yeah, he's pretty much on the same number. So Kyle is not going to get the pole, and we're down to Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Guy can get it around.
Yeah, he can wheel. I've been to, when I was at Michael Waltrip Racing, Josh was there running some nationwide races and did some tests with him. Really has a good feel for the car, knows how to go fast, so it's great to see him get an opportunity like this. I think that he will make the most of it. Pretty good first lap, 12th quickest at 30.90, and that's about 2/10 quicker than he ran.
The young driver about to go on the clock. Driver of the 20, that's Ryan Truex, 2-time K&N Pro Series East champion.
He's also the last driver that's going to have to qualify on speed. So if he runs a good, consistent lap like he's on right now, then Angela Cope looks like she may be in a little bit of trouble. But Ryan's shown the ability to go fast, Jeff, everywhere we've been, especially since he's hopped in this car. He's shown a lot of speed.
Well, I remember the first time he showed up in Michigan driving with Michael Waltrip Racing, and he was very impressive there. Again, he's got a lot of talent. Again, he's been shown the way by a pretty darn good dad who raced for a long time, and then the big brother Martin Truex Jr. Been there most every time, coaching from the top of the truck and trying to help him, get through this and accelerate his learning curve. And I think we're seeing the benefits of it.
So many times we hear from the older brothers bragging up their younger brothers, and Martin Truex Jr. the same way, saying, Ryan is a very talented race car driver, and we see on his second lap slows down just a little bit, but 4th quick with
and grip. They're looking for a lot of grip because this racetrack, even from the very beginning, first time we raced here, I believe 97, just didn't feel like this racetrack was a new racing surface that had a lot of grip. And as I mentioned, there's not a lot of banking there. So anything that you can get as a help as you try to make this qualifying effort is appreciated.
John Jackson will be the first car to run, the native of Scotland who makes his home in Florida. We saw on a few different occasions last season in the Nationwide Series. They were doing quite a bit of work to try and get this car ready to go yesterday in the garage, and did not get a whole lot of practice time.
Well, the one good thing is there's only 43 cars here, so he'll make the show.
So he will make his first start here at Auto Club Speedway.
Yeah, you can say that for sure.
You can see the track. You can see a lot of character in it. A lot of, the seams. You can see some of the patches, and then down the back straightaway. This is one of the roughest parts of the racetrack. We talked about Elliott Sadler having trouble in practice yesterday, keeping his car off the track. That was the worst place for it.
Yeah. And it just, normally you can look at that splitter when you come in and get an idea of what's happening with your race car, but because you're hitting it down the straightaway, it's all the way across there, so it makes it difficult to decide exactly what to do.
Now, if you're here in a test session, you can have telemetry and some data acquisition on there to tell you what your car's doing in the corners, but without that, you use these little rub rails that they put on the splitter to try to see where the car is actually traveling to. Most of the time, most of the tracks you go to, it's in the corner where it travels the most. Not so here because it's so rough down the back straight.
As you see, you talk about those seams. I'm hearing a lot more conversation about those seams this time, of how much it's affecting these race cars. And we'll get another shot back in turn 1 eventually with some other cars. But not only is it the seams that we see running with the track, but there also are places where the track is cracked and they're going down across, and that's affecting these cars quite a bit too.
So Jackson, the first driver to complete his 2 laps of qualifying. And the first of his 2 laps will be the quickest of them, a little bit better than 163 miles an hour. And again,
at 6:30 local, 7:30 Eastern. Stay tuned for trackside right here on Speed.
As we see Sam Hornish getting up to speed, trying to gain some confidence and get accustomed to stock car racing. Talking about the less horsepower field, that's why momentum and getting through the corners is more important with a Busch car than it is a Cup car, because you don't have that extra 100 horsepower to get you out of trouble if you get in trouble. Very important to be more precise with these cars than the Cup cars.
Yeah, these cars here will run a little bit slower at the end of the straightaway, but their center of a corner speed is probably faster than a Nextel Cup car.
Sam Hornish Jr., one of the drivers that had to qualify in on time. He has locked himself into this race, running 14th quickest on his first lap, 29 seconds flat. And he's got some success at this racetrack. Obviously in the IRL series, Sam Hornish Jr. very successful. 13 races, 13 starts here at Texas, 3 wins under his belt.
You know, it always seems like Sam Hornish, when they come down to a shootout in the IRL series, he knows he jumps up to 6th on lap number 2. But
Casey Mears now takes to the racetrack.
Casey's always a factor at these kind of racetracks. Mile-and-a-half racetrack. Won his first Cup race early this year at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. A guy that really likes to go fast and feel. Since he won that Cup race at Charlotte, you can just see the way he keeps his, way he pays off, and a lot more confident in the way he carries himself in the car and around the garage.
He's had a couple second-place finishes this year. Finished second at California early on, and then at Lowe's Motor Speedway last May. So Casey's had a pretty good season. I tell you, anytime you can win a race in the Cup level, it just about makes a pretty good season.
28.889 for his first lap, and slows down actually on the second lap, 29.075 for
the Sprint Cup guys at Pocono. Kyle Busch on the pole for that one. And here's Mark Green in the 49.
Yeah, the first time I ever came over here, I'd never seen this racetrack, and brought Mark Green along to help me learn about the place just so that we could get the most out of the test. He's very good here, and looks like he's going to get himself in the race comfortably.
Yeah, I'll say. 16th on that first lap. Mark's a very talented driver.
P16.
In what is always an important race to Ford Motor Company and to Roger Penske, whose Penske Corporation is headquartered in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, just outside of Detroit.
It looks like this Penske team, too, has been, with both the 12 and the 22 car, have been the team that's been able to challenge the Joe Gibbs car, mainly the one car that's won all the races, Kyle Busch. They've won a couple races in the 22, and they've won with Sam Hornish in the 12. But the other guys are still trying to play catch-up to most of the Gibbs car.
Of course, last time Joey raced, Dover 2 weeks ago, he went to victory lane. Went a little late strategy shuffle, got this 22 the lead off pit stops, while Kyle Busch's team went for 4 tires and went from the lead back to 10th and could only get up to 5th in the final sprint to the finish. Strategy, a storyline that may come to play in this afternoon's race also.
Jeremy Bullins is the one that won that race on pit strategy at Dover. They won the race off pit road, and Joey was able to do his job on the track.
Yep. Good lap there. Going to be 3rd quickest.
Worked really hard. Like I said earlier, it's been driving good. Great Clip Chevy's been driving good. It's just lacked some speed. So, and I'm a little confused by the time. The time was kind of slow, but it stacks up okay so far. So we'll see.
All right, good luck to Jason in tonight's race.
Now, Sam Hornish Jr. is another one of the drivers that are on the go or go home list, and so he is going to affect Jennifer Jo Cobb's day, and he just did that. Jennifer Jo Cobb will now not be able to race later on this afternoon. Hornish Jr. second quick at 30.906. So his first lap quick. Looks like he's digging for the second to see if he can get a little bit more. Joey Logano was quicker on his second lap. Let's see if Sam Hornish Jr. can take Logano down. He does. He goes 30.866, 3/1000th of a second faster than Logano.
That'd be a big boost for Sam Hornish. right about now. I mean,
the race hasn't been run yet. All right, Danica Patrick looked good through turn 2, but boy, the tracker has slipped here in corner number 3 as she is out on the track right now.
You know, we've watched Danica all series long, all season long. She's had some ups and downs, but been pretty steady, I think, in her progression in the Nationwide series. And I've been really impressed at her patience. She's done a good job of continuing to march forward, even though she's had some trials and tribulations.
Well, she got a good corner off of turn 2. Didn't lose much speed there. The car's much lower off of turn 4. I expect this lap to be quite a bit quicker for her.
Well, she was 11th at Iowa in the short track and her best 9th at Bristol. And you see there, she's moved into the number 6 spot, 22.43 seconds out of 25 cars.
Boy, he's got a night to look forward to then. Here's the Clorox Ford, the 47 for Kelly Byers. His first Darlington start will be tonight. Started and finished 5th at Nashville, his best of the season. He is 12th in nationwide points.
That could be an interesting stat just to keep up with the guys who've never been here and how they fare tonight.
First lap for Byers, 14.
Got a good lap through 1 and 2 coming off. If he doesn't make the same mistakes some of these other guys have done, Dan in turn 3 has got a pretty good second lap going, Jeff.
Just woe it up. That's all he's got to do. Just get it woed up and get it into turn 3.
This is a good looking lap here.
It is. Back to the throttle. Gaining momentum off of turn 4. A very good lap right there by the young man.
6th. He is the second quickest Ford with a 28.23.
And they did a good job on the adjustment. So I want to thank Nationwide Insurance also for letting us be out here in this great sport.
Day going the right direction for Austin Dillon right now, guys.
Hi, Dave. Thanks. Joey Logano. That lap is not going like he had expected.
Yeah, and this was not either. We saw some other cars have a bad first lap, but this is second lap for Joey's not very good either.
Like he had a tough time carrying any speed down into one. I don't know if his car's that loose getting into the corner, but he sure looked like it was slowing down quite a bit. He does pick it up to 12th.
But Bob says we watch Carl Edwards, your co-host, get ready to go out on the
he's
racetrack.
the host now. He's taking
okay,
over.
all right, he's taking over. But the key thing is track temperature going up, wind going up. So that means it's going to get hotter and slicker as far as racetrack temperature is concerned, still with the wind factor, and most of these cars are loose to begin with.
I definitely think an early draw was going to be the definite advantage here, that's for sure, which is not great news for people like Jeff Burton, Paul Menard, Kyle Busch, who will go a little bit later on in the session.
That's a loose race car.
Jeff, you know, you were talking yesterday about Carl's ability to clinch this 2007 Busch Series championship. If he averages a 31 place finish over the next 6 races, he clinches. So that's all he's got to do with that 754-point lead.
Yeah, I think over these last 5 or 6 races, the championship battle that we're going to be watching as Carl Edwards is going to end up second quickest at a 31.55 is that ownership championship battle, because even though Carl has a 754-point driver's point lead over David Rudiman, they only have a 39-point lead over the 29 car that's shared between Jeff Burton and Scott Wimmer for Richard Childress Racing.
And don't worry, I also forget the fact that we talked about Joe Gibbs and that 20 team. They're back there only 123 points behind these two guys. So if they get up there battling too much and forget about them, they could also sneak back to the Owners Championship. And it's a big deal.
Hey, he picked up over 10th. He goes to the top of the charts in front of Denny Hamlin. 31.43, 171.5 miles an hour. Top of the board right now.
Get you some of that.
Was the 1992 Series champion.
Ryan Blaney in the 36. We talked to him a little bit earlier. You can see that his numbers about a half a second off right now as Ryan comes across the straight.
Be his first start tonight at Charlotte, guys. We saw him earlier this year at Richmond and Darlington, a couple places, do a pretty good job. Had a tough time at Darlington, but a real good time at Richmond. So coming here to another fast racetrack, and we'll see how he does tonight.
Well, he's had 9 nationwide starts so far. 5 of those have been top 10 finishes. In his last start at Dover, he finished 13th, and that's his worst finish in his last 5 starts.
Well, I tell you, he's really picked it up in his second lap, guys. He's just a lot better than he was that first lap. Saw the mistake.
He was 12th after the first lap, and now up to number 2. So 30.63 seconds. Still 0.3 of a second off James Buscher's lap.
Danica Patrick will start 7th at Texas in the IndyCar Series race a little bit later this evening. Kevin LePage on track now in the 56. He's won a couple of times in the NASCAR Nationwide Series.
Never like being in a position where you have to go out there and qualify on time, but this is one of the best guys to do it. Kevin LePage has always been able to take a car and put it in the field.
He's the first of those that need to qualify on time. Remember, 45 here competing for 43 spots. And remember, Robert Richardson, who was guaranteed a spot, but he crashed in qualifying, did some heavy damage to that car. First lap for LePage, 31.423. LePage was 8th quickest in that final practice last night amongst the go or go homers. And his second lap is not quite as quick as the first. So 31.423, the quickest lap for Kevin LePage.
Fastest from yesterday coming up right now. And we know Marcus Ambrose is one of the fastest.
Here's Marcus in the 47 car. We'll keep an eye on him. You heard his comments in the interview earlier. They had a couple of small problems yesterday that might have kept them from just laying out the number to be at the top of the practice board.
He's having some problems with the radiator. The car was overheating, so he didn't get to run a lot of laps. Hopefully got that fixed, and we'll see what happens.
Said he wanted to be in the first 2 rows.
Yeah.
And right now on a time that was faster than the pole coming up to the top of the hill, but has lost some time here down the backstretch. That is Billy Johnson on the right, the new pole sitter. Hanging out and seeing how long he's able to stay at the top of the stack in Nationwide Series
Billy should
qualifying.
be awful proud. He did a great job with that those laps he ran, that 5-minute segment, put himself in good position no matter what.
Boy, that was a great corner Marcos just had coming off at turn 5. They just call him Marcos. He's Marcus, right?
Marcus, yeah.
Why is everybody call him Marcos?
Wow. It's kind of spelled. He had C-O-S, and everyone thinks it's Marcos.
Oh, here we go. Right there. Look at that, how much time he gained in that turn 6. And losing again in turn 7. This is going to be close.
I don't believe he's got it, though. I believe he's still go to P1 right off the bat. It's looking that way.
Done.
P1, 72.93, fastest lap so far today. And that
Hi, Vince, and watching as Joey Logano takes his shot. Visiting with us earlier said he thought he had a chance at pole position. He's about to begin the lap that'll matter most here as he takes the white flag.
He sit up here with us the whole time watching all these guys qualifying. He should have this line figured out now, I think, right?
But he didn't know whether to run below the yellow line on this lap, on the second lap, or not when they come around here to the start-finish line. We'll see what he decides.
That's right.
Tracking 6 right now.
Well, you watch Justin Allgaier. You watch him run right on the bottom of the racetrack the first lap. And obviously decided not to do that in his own car. He ran the top groove all the way around.
Joey Logano here at Talladega in the Nationwide Series with Rusty Wallace at Bristol numbers. 4 races, worst finish of 3rd, a win, average finish of 2nd.
That's crazy.
I mean, wow.
At a place where most people just, call it a crapshoot. You see, he looks like he's going to stay up on banking or up in triangle. Not going to go below the line.
Well, he's not going to get the pole, but be in the top 10, at least at this point, with 9th place there for Joey. 175.269 miles an hour.
We had that very slow time. He is guaranteed of making the race, so he is locked in. You're looking at Angela Cope. She has already turned in 1 lap at 31.07. Puts her 3rd right now.
See a little bit of water pouring out of that overflow on this 00 car of Angela.
Come on, get everything you can.
Stay on it, stay on it. That spotter's talking to her. Try to keep her going. Don't give up. Got to get some more speed out of this car.
Said she screwed up, Rusty. I wonder if she got to the corner a little too hot, missed her line.
Well, she's actually quicker. 30.99 moves her into the number 2 spot out of the 5 that have taken time. So let's check in now with Jamie Little.
Well,
Sadler out on track right now. And he's a little slippery on the exit out of 2. And going south through 3.
Doesn't look like he's got a good line off of that, but we'll see if he'll pick it up. Let's get to lap 2 here and see what happens.
I tell you, that's a 22.31. I've seen good cars pick up about 4/10 of a second the second lap. The car's got it in it to grab the pole if he picks up the speed he's supposed to on the second lap.
Of course, our points leader announced this week he would not be coming back to Richard Childress Racing next year.
Real shock. He's done a great job in this race car. I can't believe he's not going to be back in it, fighting for that championship again next year.
Second lap, 22.27 seconds, picks it up, but not enough. He stays in that number 4 position.
Final 4 cars in this qualifying session. There's another one of those Roush Fenway drivers that surprisingly has not won in the Nationwide Series at this racetrack. Best finish of second, and in dramatic fashion, he finished in second the last time we were here, running out of fuel at this racetrack. Across the stripe for his first lap, 4th quick for Carl Edwards, 30.902.
It's a little bit surprising, but we did hear Trevor Bayne talk about, maybe Carl's got the same idea, kind of feel things out, see how much grip, what the grip level is on the racetrack, get a good solid lap in on lap 1, and then try to hold the ride up and pick up on lap 2. We'll see if Carl can do that.
Carl's already won 6 races this year in the Nationwide Series. Lap number 2, we'll see if he can pick it up. Across the stripe, slows down just a bit, 31.045 for Carl Edwards. So
there was more there for me to have. The second lap I did a better job, but the problem is it gets tighter from one lap to the next, and it was just too tight in 3 and 4. So my mistake. I really think we could have had a fair amount more there, but we're still not going to be in too bad of a spot. So hopefully we can do a good job in this beautiful pink GoDaddy car this weekend.
It's selling like hotcakes, to mention. Thanks, Danica. Marty?
All right, thank you, Jamie. Joey Logano, second quickest on that first lap, 29.37 seconds, and he's tracking just a little bit below.
Well, it's going to happen in turn 3 and 4 if he's going to pick it up. And this is the corner.
We haven't seen that all day. We haven't seen that all day, Rusty. No one's been able to really pick it up in 3 and 4.
You're right.
I might argue with you. Brian Scott did pretty good through 3 and 4 on his first lap.
His whole lap was pretty good.
Yeah. No improvement on lap number 2. 29.37 is his best. He'll
goes to the top of the charts, 50.288.
They're close to my 50.25 already, Jeff.
They are definitely doing that. And the thing is, right now, you look at what Sam Hornish accomplished. And oh, by the way, look who's coming out behind him, his teammate, Joey Logano, in the 22 car that won here a year ago. You got to believe that Joey right now is going to be doing everything he can to unseat his teammate and get that #1 starting position.
A little bit off right now. He's tracking about 1/4 of a second off of what Sam ran. So we'll see what he can do down here at 3 and 4, see if he can pick it up. But that's going to be a lot to overcome that 1/4 of a second.
It was an impressive finish a year ago for Penske. Not only are they going out back-to-back here in this qualifying run, but they finished 1 and 2 in that race a year ago.
It'll be hard to improve upon that, isn't it?
It will be difficult. I'm sure Joey Logano and Sam Hornish Jr. will be fighting for the one who gets the top position, as Logano goes 4th quick in his qualifying run, 50.725. Scoring pylon, 28.556 for David Reagan.
Here's another guy, regardless of what he said in our interview earlier, this is somebody you're going to know is a threat for the pole and a threat for the win.
Hey, Clint has really stepped up his game all the way around. It's been incredible to watch what he's been able to do in this chase this year. We talked about confidence and momentum that carries over on both sides.
They've already announced that BB&T is coming back with RCR, and Clinton will actually run for the Busch Series Championship, actually the Nationwide Series Championship next year.
Clint Boyer across the start-finish line for his first lap, 28.624. Wendy, I believe you've got someone who who just got moved down a notch by Clint Boyer. That's Jeff Burton. Back NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying here on Speed, your motorsports authority. 5-hour energy, number 66 of Stephen Wallace now on the clock. And Wallace 7th quick in his first lap, 31.465.
Just barely nudges out of Uncle Mike. Mike 9th quickest, because we got a battle of the Wallaces going on here, at least according to Bob Dillner and
Kenny.
Yeah, and Kenny. Yeah, Kenny kind of. The rest of them didn't know what was going on.
Hey, that was a very impressive lap by Brian Scott, 30.55, and we heard him talk earlier today in the broadcast about missing a lot of practice time, getting that engine changed, and wondering where all his speed was. And so that's a good run for him. And so everybody's coming up next has got something to shoot for.
On Turner Classic Movies. Did I tell you about the Speed Racer Grand Prix connection? Never mind. Marcus Ambrose in the Kingsford Charcoal. Number 59, the Aussie. And I believe the Australian colors, at least on Jack Brabham's car, were green, British Racing green, because Australia was a British protectorate with a gold stripe.
That sounds right. Looks to me like the Tasmanian Devil is just going to sneak up on this racetrack. Got very close to that wall. He used up every inch of that racetrack.
14th.
I tell you, y'all talk about it. We heard you guys talking about it on Sprint Cup practice too. This is just a very, very narrow racetrack. When you put the safer barrier in, it made it that much more narrow. I mean, not a lot of room for error on this racetrack.
No, and again, you talk about that. What that safer barrier took up was that little bit of, you might say,
wiggle room.
Yeah, wiggle room. Again, he's
like
right
there.
right up against that wall. If that safer barrier hadn't been there, he'd have been 1.5 feet off. But in that case, he was about 1/4 of an inch off.
Pretty much told him, you know what? That's a good lap. Let's let it lie right there.
24 car being driven by Casey Mears. He finished 8th here, his best finish in 3 starts back in 2004. Nice statistic for Casey Mears. 16 Busch Series starts in 2007, 13 top 10 finishes.
Yeah, they kind of got off, we talked about this before, got off to a slow start, but at the same time, once they got on track, they've been really consistent all year long. Car wiggles just a little bit getting down into that turn.
We've seen a lot of wiggling here this weekend.
And you're going to see a lot more for the day's qualifying sessions all said and done.
What you're going to see here is probably about a 31, I was going to say 31.60, 31.59. He pretty much beats Clint Boyer by about 0.4 of a second on that first lap. Solid lap.
Beats his practice lap from yesterday by almost 0.6 of a second. So pretty good pickup right there. And Larry, looks to me like he's not done yet.
He's going to go ahead and get a little more here, it looks like. I'm not sure he'll be able to pick up from that first lap. That's right at 171 miles per hour average around this 1.5 mile racetrack for Casey. Second lap, 31.82, so he slows down quite a bit, but that's a great first lap for Casey Mears.
Casey finished 2nd in the Cup race here a year ago.
With engine not running, I think.
I think a fair general statement is that Casey is good on the 1.5 mile tracks, and he has been from day one.
Into the race at a 28.21. And now here is Brian Keselowski in the number 26 from Michigan.
He was 43rd fastest in practice, Mike, ran a 28.54. He needs to run a 28.21 to get in the show. Lap 1 not going to get it done, a 28.81.
And right now, the bottom 4, Hamlin, Hendrick, Ponstein, and Harmon. So this could lock Kevin Hamlin in, unless Brian Keselowski can pick it up. Trying to make his 2nd Phoenix start.
That race shakes out, but he's got a blue spoiler too, so that's going to make it interesting at the end of the race.
It's always interesting here, and when you put that much cash up for grabs, Alan, certainly that changes things when we come down to that checkered flag this evening.
And as we watch Joey Logano begin his 2nd lap, Mike, Brian kind of summed it up there. Let's see, a chance to gain the championship, take the cash, and take a winner's trophy at Daytona. Never underestimate the value of that winner's trophy at Daytona, right?
I promise you, yes. Just racing here obviously is a huge thrill, but to have those trophies, to say that you were a winner at Daytona International Speedway, it's fantastic. And don't ever think that these drivers and teams don't get excited. As Brian said, extra 100 grand is always nice.
Yeah, and to win the race is a big incentive, but if you're not in the position to win, it's still a race within a race for these guys to try to win that 100,000. I think it adds a lot to the race.
Probably count on Joey Logano to be in a position to contend for the win tonight. This team has won the last 2 straight races with 2 different drivers. A.J. Allmendinger at Road America, Brad Keselowski last week at Kentucky. Joey aboard tonight for Daytona, and his qualifying lap will forward, you know?
Yeah. All right, here we go with 20-year-old Ty Dillon, and remember the performance he turned in at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, finishing 3rd in the inaugural running of the Nationwide Series there. And look at the lap tracker on lap number 1 was good enough for 6th. Here he comes across the line. And it's not going to do it. 22.26, so he is 6th right now on the chart.
Marty, I want to talk about something real quick. Max Pappas, who's really been teaching Ty Dillon and Austin.
Dillon out there a moment ago, he logged in 5th.
He was 11th on his opening lap, came around 5th on his 2nd lap, and another good run for the RCR cars as Brian Scott went to 2nd. In fact, RCR 2nd through 5th right now on the scoreboard behind Eric Jones, who's fastest, as we take a look at the 39 of Ryan's.
My kids have it.
Do you really? Okay, so you know what it is. How many know what it is? It's mechanical remote control helicopters and airplanes.
And you can fly them inside your house.
I got 3 girls at home.
Hey, they play with helicopters. What are you talking about? They
Yeah, give them a helicopter. They slide around.
They shot
control.
for it.
How about this? The hairdo's working right now for the Great Clips. 38 of Jason Leffler. To the top of the charts he goes. 31.276 for Leffler. Looks like he's going to stay on it for the second lap. Looking to improve if he can.
Yeah, I really think, and we see Jason going for lap number 2, but I really think as we get further, hang on to it there.
That might be enough.
Yeah, I think that'll get his attention, but I think lap number 1 with these guys that are going for the pole is going to be the money lap. But he comes back, still has a decent lap too.
Not bad for lap number 2. About 0.2 of a second.
Over and try to get a good qualifying lap in. Maybe tune the car up a little bit for qualifying, but you can't get too far away from that race setup. But the biggest thing that'll help these guys from practice, Rick, is the track's a lot cooler now than it was early today.
Sun's starting to go down on the racetrack.
Yeah, and everyone says all that does is increase the grip. It doesn't really change the balance that much. If your car's a little bit tight, it might be a little bit tighter, but you get just more grip around the racetrack. And here's Tony Raines driving for Kevin and Delana Harvick.
Yeah, and another thing that can be difficult is you run a practice session. These guys got through practicing these cars around lunchtime, and you take away, it's been 5.5 hours. That can be a long gap for a driver to get back in, especially when you got to hold it down like you do here at Texas. Let's talk to Wendy Venturini. Wendy?
Well, thanks, Herbie. Dario Franchitti saying you are relieved because your day's getting a little bit better than it started off today.
Yeah, it started off pretty bad. I made a rookie mistake and tried too hard this morning on low pressure, stuck the thing on the fence. So we've been playing catch up since then, but the car felt pretty good there. So I knew we were in the show, but I wanted to do a reasonable lap on the target dodge, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow now.
All right, good luck. Thank you, Dario. And besides being a little tight in 3 and 4, he said it's good.
Tony Raines on the racetrack for his qualifying effort. This is lap number 2 for Tony.
Yeah, lap number 1 is a lap of record, 28.933.
Race trim. We're a little free at qualifying trim, so we tightened it up a little bit too much. I have a feeling the 18 and the 33 and some of these other guys will get us, but we'll be able to see. We'll be in the top 5 somewhere, so we'll be able to see them.
And the 18 got you, by the way.
You know, he called the spin yesterday when Sam Hornish, we were interviewing him. He calls it. Now he calls the 18's going to get it for the pole as it happens. Follow that guy to buy lottery tickets.
Quicker on lap number 2 for Joey Logano, 15.448.
Big pickup from yesterday. Again, the fastest lap turn.
Really runs wide open.
Well, here's a guy who, if he's not running wide open, is as fast as anyone on the racetrack. Kevin Harvick now in his qualifying effort, 7 starts at this racetrack in the Busch Series. 3 of those starts turned into wins. 6 of his 7 are top 10 finishes.
Yeah, good qualifying effort in the Cup Series earlier this afternoon. Going to qualify 4th for the Cup race on Sunday. So good job by Kevin in that Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet.
His final practice, he had mentioned they didn't run a lot of qualifying setup. He was 6th quickest.
He is going to get this pole. Look, he's over 2/10 ahead right now.
This is the guy we want to find out if he ran wide open or not.
Because that
what
is
a
the
lap.
pace. 28.333 for Kevin Harvick.
Right now, there's Travis Pastrana. He is 6th overall in this group. He is the slowest of the 5. His best lap at 126.6 seconds, and it looks like he's tracking about 7/10 slower than current pole sitter Andrew Ranger.
Now, I mentioned 165 miles an hour getting into turn 4. By comparison, the very slowest part of this racetrack is going to be coming up here in turn 13. A hard left here, carry the left front tire, and then into the carousel. And the driver gets down to roughly 50 miles an hour. 52 for Travis as he completes the lap.
And it is good enough to move him up into the 3rd position. So this free Earnhardt, you heard him talk a little bit earlier.
Well, he doesn't look anything like the rest of his family members, does he? You can't tell he's an Earnhardt at all, can you?
23 years old from Mooresville, North Carolina.
He's got that voice, though, you know. He's got
he looks just like him. They all
I knew you were being facetious.
He's just a little shorter, isn't he?
He looks just like him.
I know you talk about short people a lot, don't you?
There's a lot of them around him. It's kind of a byproduct.
That was a good thing. I was trying to be funny, right?
See, now even down to the beard.
Yeah.
Kerry looking on as Jeffrey's first lap, 30.89.
Hey, he's picking up here. Getting faster off turn 3.
He's looking to make his 9th career start. And he is better on this lap. He's not going to be good enough to knock off Stanton Barrett, but he moves into the number 2 spot.
Yeah, good run out of him.
30.74 seconds. So 13 cars have now taken official times. We're going to step aside. Minute 27.8. That's 0.4 of a second off of pole.
Only a 10th his second lap. Only a 10th slower than Kelly.
Yep.
Jeff Green with a 1:27.50.
Just crossing the line. As you can see, he continues on. Let's check in with Rick DeBrule, who's with Ryan Truex.
Yeah, just a moment ago we were talking about the pressure on Chris Buescher with the fact that he had to qualify the car to get a good pit position. You simply have to qualify this car, isn't that right?
Yeah, we got to beat 2 cars or 3, something like that. But I'm really happy to drive the Stanley Ford. I'm really thankful. I'm happy Marcus let me drive it. I know he's in Michigan right now, qualifying or practicing, whatever. But it's good. He set it up in Thursday testing and got it really fast. And I jumped in it yesterday and took some laps, and we were decent. So hopefully we can get a good starting spot, get him a good pit selection. And either way, he's got to start at the back. So I just got to get the car in the race, and he'll have the hard work.
And so far, he's done great work yesterday. Should be an easy job today. Just needs to make sure he keeps it on the track and keeps safe so he can get that Marcos Ambrose car where it belongs.
Marty, you and I crossed paths with Ryan a couple of days ago, and he made us aware of the fact this is his first race back after suffering a broken collarbone where he has several screws.
Yeah, he said he can still feel the screws, but it doesn't hurt him. He says there's no pain whatsoever, and he says he's ready to go. You're looking at Jeremy Clements right now. He is our provisional pole sitter, a 1:27.27 second lap, 93 miles an hour. Out on the track right now, the 43 of Michael Annett, his first lap good enough for the second spot, 30.11 seconds.
Well, I tell you, this young man, and I keep saying it over and over, he should be the template for Danica Patrick and what she's trying to accomplish. This is his 4th season. He actually had 1 start for, they call it a 5th year, but 4 solid seasons. And Michael Annett is competitive now every weekend. I'm waiting on this young man to break through and win a race or 2 because he keeps putting himself in position with his seat time. And that's what Danica needs, more seat time in this Nationwide Series to ply her trade.
Michael Annett drops off on that second lap, but
It's like, he's just going in the corner. As you know, Jeff, you're swatting flies in there with your hands. You definitely are. You definitely are.
One of the double-duty drivers this weekend is Timmy Hill. He was the 2011 Nationwide Series Rookie of the Year. Made his debut at this racetrack back in 2011, just 1 day after turning 18 years old. So now, Commodore Arithmetic will tell you he's another one of the 20-year-old drivers in this field today.
Yeah, and he's been running a lot of Sprint Cup series. He's qualified for the race tomorrow. He drives for Frankie Stoddard, and Kenny Schrader and him share that cup ride, number 32, Frankie Stoddard's car, usually known as the Federated Auto Parts car. So Timmy Hill is doing both Cup and Nationwide.
Certainly one of the up-and-coming drivers in that Nationwide Series and also the Sprint Cup Series. Got to keep
Dylan out there a moment ago. He logged in 5th.
He was 11th on his opening lap, came around 5th on his second lap, and another good run for the RCR cars as Brian Scott went to 2nd. In fact, RCR 2nd through 5th right now on the scoreboard behind Eric Jones, who's fastest, as we take a look at the 39 of Ryan Sabine.
Now, of this group here, the 2 drivers that are go-or-go homers would be Joey Logano and Trevor Bayne. Looking back at some of the earlier go-or-go homers that qualified, we know right now that Tim Andrews in the 42 and Brian Semo in the 50, they will not race later on this afternoon. So Brian Keselowski, Tommy Dreese, and Chase Miller, they're going to have to see what happens in these next 2 groups.
Guys clearly can see that this 60 car is putting down quite a lap in its first time around here at Watkins Glen. Carl Edwards. And I wouldn't be one bit surprised he doesn't run, but maybe 2 laps, because I think one thing we need to bring into play here is a little bit of strategy here. If you lay down a good lap and he does that, he puts it to the top of the list so far, is trying to save a little bit of fuel.
It's faster than the second place car right at this time.
89 of Morgan Shepherd out on track right now, 17th in Nationwide Series points. His best finish this year was 18th back in Las Vegas. His best start was 28th at Phoenix. The lap tracker shows that he is well south of Joe Nemechek's time.
Yeah, it's just like Dale said, that time that Joe put up there is only a couple of tenths off of the fastest lap that's been run by that was Trevor Bayne last night in happy hour.
Yeah, overall
Trevor ran a 31.02 last night, and then in the first practice section, Eric Almirola had a
track right now. The 22-year-old from Watkinsville, Georgia. Townley moves right to the top of the heap on lap number 1, 30.04. Where did this one come from?
I'll tell you, I was watching him go through turn 1 and 2, and that car looked like it was flat flying. In fact, this is the car my brother Kenny usually drives, a 99 car here. But boy, I tell you, that thing is hooked up. It was flying around there.
One of the things I noticed, we've got cloud cover over turns 3 and 4 right now.
You're exactly right. That's one thing I was about to say. It's actually getting, there's no sun out here whatsoever. The track is getting a little cooler, and as it gets a little cooler, it definitely gets faster.
Dropped off on lap number 2, but boy, he is 0.3 quicker than James Busher. Let's talk to him.
And